Straighty's on there, and he had the knife, and he was battling it out, and it just brought me back to my childhood. But I digress.
Hmm.
Then you see him progress to like the grown man version of him, but
Yeah.
along that way, the trials and tribulations, developing a crush that might have been taboo because again, let's face it, these are a very close knit people, and here's this
Hmm.
outsider intruding in on their valuable resources, which is their people.
Yeah.
Um, and
Absolutely.
and just the way that Timothy is able to also hold his own against these greats. I mean, like you're talking about major heavyweights in this movie, man, from Christopher
Hmm.
Walken to Oscar what is
Oscar
it?
Isaac.
I mean,
Oscar Isaac.
like,
Yeah, that's my
yeah,
man.
like
Yeah.
most of these individuals, they are in a lot of established movies that generate a lot of movies. So I get the appeal. And I also
Hmm.
see like, man, he could be one of them. We'll be talking about
Yeah.
him in the same frame as these
Yeah.
individuals.
Yeah. He never. Yeah. Timothy Chalamet as an
Mhm.
actor never is small on the
No.
screen. Even like you said, he's standing there with heavyweights. He's in scenes with Josh
Yeah,
Brolin.
Rebecca
You know.
Ferguson from what is it? But what's Mission Impossible series? I hate the
Yeah.
fact they killed her off, but I mean, even
He's in scenes with heavyweights, and he's in there, like he's in there, and it makes you buy Paul being
oh
in there
yeah,
because, and I agree 100% what you're saying about his character. He does kind of, it's almost like visually by the end of the movie, he looks more like a man.
exactly. And I think that's the fact
So
that
it's
like the movie is broken up the way they filmed it.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
love the way how that blended itself to them, which is like
yeah,
one of my other favorite things about it. That sense of family, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. You have the like we talked about the rapport, the camaraderie of all these talented actors. Stalin Skarsgård. Like I mean, all these individuals, like they really, really dive into this piece head on. You don't even see
mm-hmm,
them as like, oh, he was in Thor. You see him
mm-hmm,
as this fat slob bathing in this nasty liquid, and
yeah.
just ugh,
Looks like
yeah,
dishwater.
oh,
Yeah,
just terrible,
he's in the,
terrible.
he's in the
But he pulls
dishwater.
it
Yeah,
off. The
yeah, he
fact
does.
that
He
Christopher
does.
Walken isn't a caricature, but an actual,
Yeah,
real live vital
yeah.
character in this movie, dope. And then last but not least, I just love the fact of like I'm an admirer of Josh Brolin's work.
Hmm.
I think that he is a very talented actor, and he does his whole revenge skit like that speech he gives, and it is talked about in the book, but again, we're not going with the book. We're just dealing with the movie. The fact that he tells him, like, you remember me, essentially, you see the scar, you gave it to me. Now here's your comeuppance. I'm getting mine.
Hmm.
The fact that his whole world was taken from him, like that pain, then when he reunites with Paul and that exuberance, that embrace, like it's like, not skipping a beat. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
could tell it was a very tender, loving scene there, man. Props to Josh Brolin for really nailing this part. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, every scene he's adding
Yeah,
weight to it.
definitely.
He's like he's in the movie, even though he's not in it a
Yeah.
lot. When he's
No,
in
no.
it, you feel it, and he's down for Paul. He's like Stilgar 1.0.
Mm,
Like that's his man. He rides with Paul all the way, man, or young pup as he calls
definitely,
him.
definitely.
So yeah, so that's that cake. I'm gonna add a couple of quick things. We talked about a little bit earlier. I love the introduction of Fade Rotha.
Mm.
Fade Rotha, I just like when characters just go for it. And the guy who plays him, I know like previously he played
Yeah.
Elvis. So I know that there's a guy who played Elvis, and I'm forgetting the name right now, so apologies to that. But I love how he just plays that character, how he kind of does the voice and the mannerisms of Lord Harkonnen, played by Mr. Skarsgård, but he does it in almost like a younger sounding voice, which helps it to resonate well. And I just think the character is interesting, and I love what they do with that reverse lighting thing on
Mm.
the Harkonnen
Yeah.
planet. Just a great introduction there. Um, the next thing that I really dug was it's my favorite scene, and I talked to you about this earlier, man. The scene where
Oh,
I was about to say old lady Benny Gesserit again, but
guys,
when she's
guys,
talking,
Helen.
yeah, and when she tries to hit Paul with that, consider what you're about to do, Paul Atreides. And he says silence, and it like she falls down and falls backwards, and it's like abomination. Like it is such a great scene. Like I watch that every week. Like once a week, I watch that one scene. I'm on
Oh
YouTube
man.
or Instagram, whatever, because it's so beautiful. Because it's like the scene where you really realize that Paul is on a different. He's on some different stuff. Like you talked about it before. The last 45 minutes of this movie, you might as well at the when the movie ended, I was expecting it to be like a Jay-Z song playing called like Atreides, because Paul's last 15 minutes is the most gangster stuff I've seen on in a film. Yo, in 20 minutes, he burns up Chani, kills his grandfather, kills his cousin, threatens an old man, takes his daughter, and then starts a holy war. In 15 minutes, this dude is a man. He's an animal. So and he checks old lady Benny Gesserit. So he does. It's just amazing. I love it. I love it. And then last but not least, yo, shout outs to Zendaya on this. When he says to Florence Pugh's character, "I'm going to take your hand in marriage." When you see the look in Chani's face, played by Zendaya, that is the black woman death stare that every man who has ever been in a relationship with a black woman has seen that look at one point. And when you do, you know, oh, there's about to be major problems.
Some furniture
And
moving.
it's like, look, it's about the exact, it's gonna be some furniture moving. Like you had to know, maybe Paul doesn't know because he hasn't seen that look ever
No.
before. But I know, me and every other man in that theater who's been with a black woman, who's dated a black woman, knows, oh, Paul's in some serious trouble right now. So just the look on her face and the way she communicates with her eyes, I loved it. That's my cake.
Well, CJ hit the nail on the head. Shout out to Andrew Butler who played his man Faid.
Yes.
Um,
Yep. 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 Andrew
yeah,
Butler.
definitely
Yes.
shout out to him.
Yes.
Yeah, like I didn't even recognize him. Like I was like, oh
No.
snap! Like what?
No.
Like
Killed it.
I
Killed the
was
role.
surprised. I mean,
Killed it.
like the depravity. This dude is like, yo,
Killed it.
he is a butcher, and we're
Yeah.
trying to be PG here, I mean G preferably, but this dude is off the chains, man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that Paul, like, I love the fact that you pointed out his transition in 15 minutes encompassed those two movies. Like that was so
Yo,
dope. So
I love it. It's the most gangsterish
and he
movie
was
at
taking
the end.
knives all over, his like getting stabbed and everything, like just eating it. Like,
Yo,
you're not gonna stop me. This
Joe.
is my moment. Like, I'm
Yeah,
putting the world
he
on
earned it.
notice. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Paul.
Yeah, that's how I hit him. That's what I'm saying. They should have played that at the
Like,
end. Play that. Play that song at the end,
like,
man. Do something, because that was a moment like you got like the music at the end was like kind of like
yeah,
nice
that
harp play. Like,
nah,
nah, I needed something with some
yeah,
bass at the end. But
wake you up type joint, man.
all right, so let's get into the things that we didn't like. Let's get into that. So what we call the hate. I know you got a couple
I only
things.
have a couple things
I,
because I'm nitpicking here, but like honestly, dude, I did not like Lady Jessica's character or lack thereof of character, morals, and scruples. The fact that she is able to use her femininity, sexuality, I don't see that as empowering. I get it. In this context, in this movie, these are the tools of the trade that, are in her toolbox,
mm-hmm,
and she has to utilize that for pure survival. And, in this future, you know,
mm-hmm,
everything is just everything is no, there's no off limits. Everything is fair game.
yeah,
But the
mm-hmm,
fact that she's manipulating her own son, she's using
mm-hmm,
him to get what she wants to
mm-hmm.
achieve her agenda. That is some
Yep,
deceitful, like, I don't know, man. Like, this is your mom's. This is your mom's.
yeah,
No baking cookies over here. No pats on the back. No, hey, put the
yeah,
band-aid on. No lullabies. Nothing. She is like, yo, you're still too weak. You're still too naive. You're gonna bring your butt here to this town, to the northern part, whether you want to or not. I don't care what
yeah,
type of dreams or nightmares you're having. Yeah, this is how it's gonna get
yeah.
done.
Yeah, I just want to say, just really quickly, I want to say that I agree with it. I almost had one of the questions I almost had for you was whether or not she is manipulating Paul, but I feel like it's so
Yeah,
obvious that it's not even a question worth
yeah.
asking. That's definitely a part of it. I definitely agree with it, and that's
I
all.
think she
That's what
has
I'm
his
saying
best
about it.
interests at mind, just like any mother would. But the fact of
Mhm.
how she goes about doing it and the secret she keeps is more
Yeah,
detrimental to his upbringing than it actually benefited
yeah,
him. Which leads to my next
yeah.
joint. just the constant manipulation that is ad nauseum. We've already covered this topic. I'd like to see a little bit more friendliness, but I know in this particular genre with this particular film that wasn't possible. And then last but not least, just the portrayal of the Freeman. I know that the movie, there's a lot of parallels between a lot of different religious sects, particularly the major
Mhm.
three. But with respect to this one in particular, the Freemen, they just seem to be a bunch of like extremists, religious zealots.
Mhm.
Our boy Javier, who got busy and
Javier Bardem,
who
yes.
definitely got busy before, does it once again, where you can feel it's so palpable that, like, no, this guy is committed to the cause. Like, oh, what
Hmm.
do you want me to do? He says jump. He's saying not only how high, how long do you want me to levitate in the air? Like, I'll get it done.
Hmm.
Like, consider it
Yeah.
done. The fact that these individuals are basically so bombastic in their zeal for Paul, it leaves a lot less to desired because it brings up a lot of stereotypes and negative denotations and connotations.
Interesting.
But that's
Interesting.
just my 2 cents for it.
Got it. Got it. I'm gonna be really quick. I don't my dislikes. I would have loved more Fade
Mhm.
Rotha. I almost wish that Fade Rotha was in the first
Mm.
movie, so I could have gotten more of his
And
menacing.
terrorism.
Like, yeah, so you get to the end, because I knew he wasn't going to be
Oh,
defeat
of course
Paul,
not.
but I would have been good to see him get a couple of shots in on some other people that
Oh
were
yeah,
important, so that when you get to him, you're like, okay, this dude
yeah.
is
He's
thorough.
someone not to mess with.